Hello, those that have joined, bear with me just one moment. I'm just trying to get it up on the iPad over here too so that I can see you all. Bear with me. I'll bring this over, it might be easier. I could tell I was prepared. Okay, let's try it this way. Bear with me, everyone. Might not be able to see you. Okay, right. Okay, we are just going to roll with it. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to probably lean in to see your comments and stuff. So I apologise in advance for my really close-up face. But hello and welcome to today's sign-along workshop with me, Maxine. I'm going to go through some of the signs on our Get Moving poster today. So hopefully you stick with me long enough and things stay all okay and we can get through those. As always with our live workshops this week, we are going to be covering the essential skills pages that in our manuals are all on our yellow pages so that you can quite clearly see them. These are the skills to unlocking the methodology of how to perform sign-along signs. They're key that you must use them to be able to perform our signs correctly. By incorrectly performing our signs, you might misinterpret the context of a sign, and then that just leads to further confusion down the road. And we don't want that. We ideally like to get it right first time or as close to right first time so that communication can be built between you and your communication partner. So to kick things off today, I'm going to talk to you about our placement, our hand shapes, our orientation and our movements. These are how our sign descriptions are broken down and how they are written. And as I said, they are the key to unlocking all of our signs. The idea being that once you learn these 4 parts of our signs, you can then look at any of our descriptions without the image. In fact, you might just be able to be told on the phone the description and perform our signs without needing to see the sign being performed. It's one of the biggest differences between us and other sign-supported communication systems, so it's worth noting. We have a little saying called hop to move, and that stands for our hand shape, orientation, placement, and then a combination of all 3 of those put together can then move in our sign. So it's quite a handy little saying to remember. It's hop to move. When we perform our signs, we refer to our hands as a working hand and a supporting hand. And you'll see this and you'll probably hear that as I go through and read out the descriptions for you. That means your working hand should be the hand that you default most to. It's probably likely to be your dominant hand. So for me, I am right-handed, therefore my working hand is my right hand. And then my supporting hand is my left hand. And you'll see when this isn't in use, I will tuck it away out of sight so that you pay attention to just this one hand at all times. It doesn't matter which hand you use, but we say to be consistent. And that is in terms of, again, it's getting that context correct. You don't want to be misinterpreting any signs and meaning something completely different to what you're signing. It's a lot of confusion further down the line. So stick with what you feel most comfortable with, one you say hello with, the one you grab your pen with. things like that, that's your working hand. So find what your working hand is, stick with that throughout this signing session with me today, and you'll be on a good path for the future. Whatever hand you are not using as your working hand, as I said, will be your supporting hand. You'll notice the difference in the descriptions when I start reading them out, but most of the time our drawings and our sign images are all denoted with a right-handed person signing. That doesn't mean that they can't be performed with a left hand as a working hand, it's just the common denominator from the majority of the people up and down the UK and in the world, in fact. So don't worry that the image might look slightly different to how you perform it. Just stick with your working hand and your supporting hand and be consistent with which one you are using for all of your signing going forward. Just going to read the comments. Ah, perfect. Okay, I'm glad to see that a few more of you are dripping in as well. That's really good. So we are going to talk about our signing window. So this is an invisible frame that goes around you, and it's where your signs will take place. So my signing window will be just above my head, comes out to just past my shoulders, down to just below my waist. And most of our signs will take place within this frame. So I like to stand like I am today so that you can see all of this, so that all of my signs will be visible to you and you shouldn't have any problems. So as I said, consistency in your working hand and supporting hand, and getting your placement and your signing window in clear view will stead you in good path for the future. So now we've established our placement, we will look at our hand shapes. We have 16 basic hand shapes and 10 additional hand shapes that are used to form the basis of all of our signs. So at the start of all of our videos throughout this week, we will be teaching you these, as I said. So I'm going to break those all down for you, and if you've joined us at any point during the week, you're probably going to be an expert by now on what all of these hand shapes are, but if not, stay with me and I will teach you them all anyway. So the first one that we have is a flat hand. It is a nice, clear, tight hand, no kinks, no curves. You can't see any daylight or anything through my gaps of my fingers, and my thumb is firmly in contact with my hand too. This is a flat hand. From there, you want to stretch all of those fingers and thumb out, excuse me, I've got hiccups, as wide as you can. And this is then an open hand. From there, you just want to curve all of those fingers and thumb in so that you create a clawed hand. From a flat hand, just want to bend those fingers over at a 90-degree angle, and this is your bent hand. From there, you just want to turn this over, and I'll turn to the side and just slightly cup those fingers, and imagine that you've got a small pool of water in your palm there and you can't let any of that escape, and this is a cupped hand. You will then, from a flat hand, you can push all of your fingertips in line with your thumb tip to create this sort of shape, and this is a bunched hand. So bunch all of those together, a bunched hand. From our flat hand, I'm going to bend those fingers all the way down and keep in place our thumb, but keep all of our fingernails visible, and this is a closed hand. So a nice tight shape there, but fingernails on view, is a closed hand. From there, you're going to tuck those fingernails away and clasp all of those fingers down with your thumb, and this is a fist. Looks exactly like a regular fist, but the difference between this and a closed hand is those fingernails. Tuck them away for a fist and leave them out for a closed hand, so a fist hand. Then we have a C hand. So you'll take your index finger and your thumb and curve them round to make a C shape. Don't worry that it doesn't, if you're right-handed especially, it won't make a C to you, it'll be backwards. It's absolutely fine. You're not looking for it to make a C, it's just, that's the shape that you should be looking for. So either hand, a C hand. From there, you bring all of your other fingers in line with your index, still keeping that really nice C shape, and this is a full C hand. From there, you can take your index and your thumb to meet at the fingertip and thumb tip and extend those other 3 fingers to make an O hand. So a nice round O in the middle there, and extend those other fingers. An O hand. Then we have a full O hand. You just bring these 3 fingers in line with your index finger, but not touching your thumb. So it's only your index finger there that's in line with your thumb. Keep that really nice round shape in there, and that's a full O hand. From there, we're going to take our fist and just extend our index finger and hook that over for an R hand. So you see my shape there, it's just hooked over, but everything else is all tucked away. This is an R hand. Just nice hook for an R. Then you're going to create a V hand, and that's simply your index and your middle finger spread apart like the letter shape V for a V hand. And then, as I said, we have 10 additional hand shapes, and you'll have to bear with my wonky fingers and thumbs and things for these next ones, but we're going to create a Y hand. So we are going to bend our index, middle and third fingers down and extend our thumb and our little finger to create a sort of Y shape. They don't all work together, I do apologise. This is a Y hand, and this can be this way or this way, but it's a Y hand. Then we have an index hand, simply just your index finger extended, nice and straight, an index hand. Then we have a thumb hand, and it's just a nice clear thumbs up, like in the sign for hello. A thumb hand. If you can get your thumb straighter than me, well done. I can only do it by dislocating my my thumb, but on the other hand, I can get this one really straight, but not this one. Then we have a little finger hand. So you're going to take your little finger and just extend it and tuck everything else away. A little finger hand. And you can see that's just my little finger that's on show there. A little finger hand. Then we were going to do an open pinched hand. You're going to take your index finger and your thumb and just pop them parallel to each other like this. This is an open pinched hand. And the opposite of open is closed. So a closed pinched hand just closes that gap together. So a closed pinched hand. Then we have a parallel bent hand. So from the flat hand, bend your fingers down. Just extend that thumb so that it's parallel, but all of your fingers and your thumb are extended there. This is a parallel bent hand. Then we have a parallel flat hand. So take your flat hand, just extend your thumb parallel to those. A parallel flat hand. We then have an L hand, so our thumb and our index finger extended, an L hand. And this can be this way, any which way, but an L hand. Are you doing shadow puppets? No, trying not to. We're learning some sign-along signs today instead. Last but not least, we have a tucked hand. So we are going to take our thumb hand with our index finger extended and just hook that index finger round our thumb. So I will show you here again. So take our thumb and wrap your index finger around your thumb. This is a tucked hand. So you have all of our hand shapes there, all 26 of them. Don't worry if you didn't keep up with that. As I said, once these videos all get saved and get reposted tomorrow, they will all have the hand shapes and the rest of the skills in the front of the video so that you can practice those at your own time when you've got a chance. So don't panic too much. So now we have our placement and our hand shapes. We're going to talk about the orientation, and this is where your hands are held when you are performing your signs. So we talk about orientation in two parts, palms facing and hands pointing. So palms facing literally just means that wherever our palm is facing. This can face in 6 directions, in, out, up, down, forwards and backwards, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that now. So imagine you've got your sign-in window here. We have an imaginary line down the middle as well, and that will keep that in your mind. That will help you focus for going through. So palms in. See my palm is facing in towards that middle line of my signing window, like in the sign for big. We then have palms out. So you see my palm is facing out towards the edge of the signing window, like in the sign for ill or poorly. We then have palms up, so they are pointing up to the top of that imaginary signing window, like in the sign for today. We then have palms down, so you see my palm is facing down to the floor, like in the sign for chair. Can then be palm forward, so you see my palm is facing ahead of myself towards you, and this is the sign for stop. So palm forward for stop. You can then have palms facing back towards the signer, so myself, like in the sign for love. So wherever our palms are facing is what we mean by that. And then we have our hands pointing. We talk about our hands pointing only from our wrist to our palm knuckles and nothing else in between or further from that. So just this section here. So this can point in the same 6 directions, in, out, up, down, forwards and backwards. So example of pointing in. So you see this from here, my wrist to my knuckles is pointing in towards that middle of my signing window again, like in the sign for sit. My hands can point out, so my wrist to my palm knuckles is pointing out towards the edge of the signing window, like in the sign for person. It can then point up, so you see my wrist to my palm knuckles pointing up to the top of the signing window, like in the sign for building. Can then point down to the floor, so from my wrist to my knuckles pointing down, like in the sign for down. Nice simple one to remember that. They can then point forward towards and ahead of the signer, like in the sign for book. Notice my hands change there, so my palms change orientation, but my wrist and my knuckles are still pointing in the same direction. They're still pointing forward. So even though that sign moves, still forward. So it's book. And then they can point back. So my wrist to my knuckles pointing back towards myself, like in the sign for me or I. Ah, Charlotte, that's great. So you should be an expert at all of this signing then. You'll have to share some videos and tag us in them of you signing together because we'd love to see that. So now we have those 6 directions that our palms can face and our hands can point. There are also diagonals in our sign, so they'll be denoted by a slash in the description, but they could mean that this is sort of in and up, so in between the two. And things like that, so take note of that. And actually some of our signs may well be that description, and I'll point those out to you when we get to those in a moment when we're learning them. So we've covered placement, hand shapes, orientations. Now some of our signs can move, and actually almost all of our signs have some form of movement in them. So I'm going to go through those with you now. Same 6 directions, a sign can move in, out, forwards, backwards, up and down. So our movement in could be in the sign for boy. A movement out can be like in the sign for cat. So they move out towards the edge of the signing window, like cat. You can then have a movement up, like in the sign for up. You can also have a movement down, like in the sign for trousers. You can also have movement forwards, so going away from yourself, like in the sign for fish. I'll turn sideways so you can see that one. Fish. And then you can have a sign moving back, like in the sign for come or to come. Not only can they move in those 6 directions, but you then have them that circle, and they can circle horizontally, vertically, forwards and backwards. Excuse me. So what I mean by that is circling in on the horizontal would look like this, like in the sign for park. So it circles in for park. They can circle out, like in the sign for where. They can circle in and out vertically. So in would look like this for school. So it circles in for school. And it can circle out, like in the sign for sun. So sun. A sign can circle forward, like in the sign for train. Turn sideways so you can see. Train. And then it can also circle back, like wait or patience. We have a funny little saying again, so like hop to move, they're just easy little sayings that you can use to remember these. And we say a sign can move in for a hug or out for the clout. Helps you to remember which way you're circling. So imagine you are coming in to give somebody a hug. And then if you're circling out, you're likely to clout someone or something on its path. So that's how we remember. It takes a little bit of getting used to, and obviously the vertical and horizontal can cause a little bit of confusion, but if you always remember you're going out or you're coming in some way, anything moves from the outside into the middle or from the middle and out, you should be okay to keep going. Then we have something called a formation. And this is where 2 different hand shapes in different orientations and placements can move together as one. So like in the sign for boat. So my hands are on a diagonal, so they would be denoted differently, but this whole sign moves as one for boat. Or 2 different hand shapes, like in the sign for horse, or to ride a horse. My mum just mentioned she's done training with you. Ah, fab! So then, yeah, we really expect you, Charlotte, to be top notch at this now. There's no excuses. She's just grasped you up for that. The next lot of symbols that I'm going to show you are our movement arrows that appear on all of our descriptions, on our images, sorry. And I'm not going to perform these because it wouldn't make any sense, but I'm just going to show them to you instead. So you will see on our images, in fact, they will look like this. They will have little arrows on them. So it's worth just noting what these arrows mean. I've kept my manual here so that I could get it completely right for you all as well, because I'm good like that. So this arrow will mean a continuous movement in one direction. This arrow means a movement forwards and then a movement backwards. So like in the sign for hello. This symbol here is a broken movement, one that stops and then starts. So like in the sign for bag or takeaway, things like that. This is a movement in one direction and then another. Anything with a double arrowhead is a repeated movement. So like in the sign for train, just happens twice or several times. This symbol means a movement in opposite directions. So like we had there in the sign for cat, same thing, just moves further away, so different directions. Then we have this movement with a stress line on it, means that it's a short, sharp movement. So like in the sign for no. We then have these lovely symbols, which are signs that start closed, then open, and then close again, like in the sign for bubbles. So it starts closed, opens, closes, opens, closes again for bubbles. We then have this symbol here, which is a sign that starts open and then closes, like in the sign for man, or for Santa, if you're up for Christmas this early. We then have the opposite of that, which is a sign that starts closed and then opens, like for light, light, or a lamp. And then the last two, we have a splat. This is where a contact will happen. So not all of our signs make contact, but like in the sign for jumper, they do. They physically touch your body. And then the last one is a quivering hand, like in the sign for tree, where your hand will quiver slightly. So now that we've covered all of our skills in there, you should have the keys to unlocking our signs. So that means the next 12 signs that I teach you and I read out the descriptions to you, you should be able to follow along, and going forward with all of those new skills, you should be able to perform any of our signs too. So the first ones that we are going to learn on our Get Moving poster is skipping. I'm not going to skip, not going to lie, but I will sign it for you. So we are going to take our hands at the side of body and circle as though skipping. So skipping. Notice there is no hand shape there. The only orientation denoted is that they are held at the side of your body, and that's it. Some of our signs may well be gestural more than they are signs, but that's absolutely fine. So again, hands at side of body, circle as though skipping, skipping. Imagine you've got the rope in your hand, you're just flicking it over you and trying not to trip yourself up. Skipping. The next one is also a very gestural sign, although if this happens, I'd question what kind of party you're at. But the sign for dancing. So we're going to take our relaxed arms and move alternately forwards and back for dancing. So turn sideways sort of so you can see that, for dancing. It's worth noting that Signalong is a total communication system. So we use our speech and our sign, our facial expression and our body language to perform our signs. And like I said there, some of our signs are gestural, so you don't need to necessarily sign everything. You can just be gestural or just pick out the keywords. We're a keyword signing system, so you don't sign every single word in the system, in the sentence, sorry. And ours will always be in spoken order as well. So for instance, you could say, go and put your teddy on the chair, or you could point to the child with the teddy and say, go put your teddy over there. It's the same thing, and the hope is that once you've built up that level of communication, you will be able to be more gestural and as well as keyword signing rather than everything. So the next one that we are going to learn is football. So we are going to take our index hands, palms back, pointing down, and our working hand's going to flick forward. So index hands, palms back, pointing down, working index flicks forward, football. That's why we say to remember what you're working in your supporting hand is football. Next we have the sign for run. So we're going to take our fists, remember tuck those fingernails away, palms in, pointing forward, and our arms are going to swing as though running. So run. This has a movement arrow in one direction and then another, so run. Next we have rebound therapy, which is using trampolines most of the time if you don't know what that is. So rebound therapy, our supporting flat hand, palm up, pointing forwards and in, so on a diagonal. Then our supporting, working V hand, palm back pointing down, on supporting palm, bounces up and down several times. Then our blade of our working fist rests on supporting palm and the formation moves up and forwards. So all together, rebound therapy. I'll read that out to you again. Supporting flat hand, palm up, pointing forward in. Working V hand, palm back, pointing down. On supporting palm, bounces up and down several times. Then blade of working fist rests on supporting palm. Formation moves up and forwards. So all together again, that is rebound therapy. Sometimes our descriptions can be quite lengthy, but once you see it in action, you realise it's quite a small sign. Next, we have hydrotherapy, so water therapy. So we're going to take our working cupped hand. Remember to keep all of that pool of water in there. Palm forward, pointing in. Backs of fingers rub up and down against cheek. And then blade of working fist, put my teeth in. Blade of working fist rests on supporting palm, formation moves up and forwards. So all together, hydrotherapy. Again, working cupped hand, palm forward, pointing in. Backs of fingers rub up and down against cheek. Then blade of working fist rests on supporting palm, formation moves up, forwards. Hydrotherapy. Next we have, I think it's pronounced boccia, B-O-C-C-I-A for those who want to have a go pronouncing it. So we are going to take our working index, tap against our cheek gently once, then working full O hand, palm forward pointing down at working hip, moves forwards changing to open hand, palm forward pointing down. So bend my hand down a bit more for you. So I think it's boccia. Working index taps cheek gently once, then working full O hand, palm forward pointing down at working hip, moves forwards changing to open hand, palm forward pointing down. Boccia. Next we have my least favourite thing to do, at least, exercise. So flat hands, palms in and back, pointing forward in. Blade of working hand taps on supporting index twice. Then flat hands, palms back, pointing in, brush down chest. So, exercise. Again, exercise. So flat hands, palms in, back, pointing forward in. Blade of working hand taps on supporting index twice. Then flat hands, palms back, pointing in, brush down chest, exercise. Exercise. Last four now, if you're still with me. We have cycling next. So we're going to take our closed hands, keep those fingernails out. Palms down, pointing forward, and they're going to circle forward several times. Cycling. So again, cycling. Closed hands, palms down, pointing forward, circle forward several times. Cycling. Imagine your feet on the pedals. And you can be as quick as you want to cycle, or a nice steady cycle. Next up we have the sign for sport. So we're going to take our closed hands, again fingernails. They're going closed hands together, palms in, pointing forward, with sharp movement, working hand pulls back towards working shoulder, while supporting hand pulls forwards and out. So sport. And again, sport. So So closed hands together, palms in, pointing forward. With sharp movement, working hand pulls back towards working shoulder, whilst supporting hand pulls forwards and out. Sport. And again, sport. Next we have walk. So we're going to take our working V hand, palm out, pointing down. So our palm is out, our wrist to our knuckles is pointing down. And it's going to walk up, supporting forearm from back of hand to our elbow. So walk. And again, walk. So working V hand, palm out, pointing down, walks up, supporting forearm from back of hand to elbow, walk. And then lastly, we have hula hoop, the big craze that was on TikTok last year and the year before, if you remember rightly. I was suckered into buying one of those too. Hula hoop, working index hand, palm back, pointing down at supporting side, makes large outward circle to working side of body and hips move from side to side. So hula hoop. And again, hula hoop. Working index hand, palm back, pointing down at supporting side, makes large outward circle to working side of body and hips move from side to side. Hula hoop. And again, hula hoop. Bear with me. So we are learning some sign-along signs. We've actually been doing them for quite a while now. So what I would say to remember when using sign-along is to remember to speak as you sign, as signing can encourage speech, especially in those who have limited communication skills or who are non-verbal. So wherever possible, speak as you sign, and you'll slowly start to see your communication partner able to make those sounds with you, even if they aren't completely correct. So bear that in mind. We also say when we are performing our signs to stop speaking when you have stopped signing. So like there, for instance, for skipping, you just stop speaking once you stop signing. So skipping. For football, it's the same thing. If, like the sign for walk, it's quite a long sign because you've got to go from your wrist to your elbow, but the actual word is quite small, start signing before you start speaking so that you finish at the same time. So you can walk. Equally the same for run. It's a very small word, but quite a long sign, so bear that in mind. Like with all of our signs, we say to keep the consistency with your working hand and your supporting hand, and using all the skills that I taught you at the beginning of this live, you should be able to perform all of our signs going forward. And hopefully lots more. If you haven't already and you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, please go and check out our giveaway where we are giving away 12 months access to our sign library, which homes all 9,000 plus signs that we have ever developed as a charity. So it's a great valuable tool. It's worth £120 normally, but you can enter to win a complete year's access to that. And as I said, you'll be able to learn so many more signs. We've already had a live on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube this week, and today with TikTok's live. They will all be accumulated together and will be reshared tomorrow across Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. So if you miss any of these and you want to learn some more, please head to one of those pages tomorrow. I think they're being released at 6 a.m. right the way through to 12 at lunchtime. So stagger them out. But we're not going to delete them at any point, so you'll be able to come back and learn at your own pace and in your own time as many times as you want. As I said, the 12 signs that we have used today are off the Get Moving poster, which you can purchase from our shop if you want to. It's handy to have out. And actually I'll quickly show you, because I don't know if you realise that I've had the poster stuck to the bottom there so I could read from it. So they are all coloured signs with our images and our descriptions and the title, and they're A3 in size, so you can pop these up and you can go back and revisit those as many times as you want as well. So I hope that you've enjoyed this session today. We are having videos next week that we will be posting up. They won't be live, unfortunately, due to staff absences next week and holidays and things, but the following week we will be back to being live again. And as I said, every Friday all of the videos from that week will be reposted so that you can watch them whenever you fancy it. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me today. I've loved being able to do our first live together, and I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you're not following us on the other social media pages, do come across. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the usual, and YouTube and everything as well. So yeah, please come back and give us a little follow. And equally, if you've got any suggestions of things that you would like to see more of, and I can see people asking to sing us, to sign a song. Unfortunately, my voice is not the best, but previously on our page you will see we have got some nursery rhymes. We are limited with some songs that we're allowed to perform because of copyright issues, because as a charity we don't want to get into copyright troubles with anybody, so we will sing our own songs and we will sing nursery rhymes that are copyright free and things like that. So if you've got any that you want us to perform, please let me know and I'll be happy to give it a go, but I will warn you to buy some earplugs first. So yeah, anything that you want to know or that you want to see more from us on TikTok, please do give me your suggestions. And yeah, I really appreciate you all being here today, because it's our first ever live TikTok, and thank you for everybody for sharing it so that we could get to be live too. So join us back here, as I said, next week for some posted videos. They won't be live, but we will still have a video every single day. And then the following week, join us back on Thursday so that we can be live again and yeah, and learn some more. Each day is a different set of signs as well. So it's worth coming back every day to see, but worth coming back every Friday at least, or joining the lives on the other days on the other platforms so that you can learn as many possible signs for free to celebrate our 30th birthday. So thank you very much, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.